Dear students, welcome to the massive open online course. My name is Dr. Milton Devadaivu, Assistant Professor, Department of Public Administration, Madras Christian College, Chennai. In the previous session, we were discussing about Comptroller and Auditor General of India. In short form, CAG. Now we will discuss about powers of CAG. CAG performs three important powers. CAG holds three important powers. First is CAG can inspect any office for the audit purpose. CAG can inspect any government office, any public funded office, any public sector enterprises or any institution which is funded by the government of India or state government for just audit purpose alone, not for any other reason. Second is CAG can examine all transactions. So, during this inspection or after that, CAG can examine all the transaction of which is made by the particular central government or state government or the institution, anything. CAG can ask for any records from office. For the audit purpose, CAG can ask for any records from those offices, so that CAG can perform audit. Now we will discuss about what are the challenges of CAG. First is corruption and maladministration. See, this corruption and maladministration which will not leave the audit as well, which is there everywhere. So, this creates unnecessary burden to the CAG and CAG's office. CAG audits several public private projects. They perform audits for so many entities. CAG has the authority to inspect any accounts of any government offices, but the supply of records is often denied. See, the previous slide we discussed about the powers of the CAG. The third one we were discussing about CAG can ask for any records from any government or government funded office or institution or department, so that they can cross check, cross verify, they can examine whether they have spent properly or not, but they will not get those files from these offices, or they will not be able to get it on time. Sometimes they deny to submit all those records. So, because of that, CAG cannot, they are not in a position to perform their audit properly. Auditors should be provided access to records on priority basis within 7 days, failing which heads of the department should be required to explain the circumstances that caused the delay. But they are the head of the departments are supposed to give their records within 7 days to the office of the CAG, failing which they have to give proper justification why they were not able to submit the record. The other important challenge in UK and USA, the tenure of CAG is 10 to 15 years, but in India it is 6 years or 65 years, which is earlier, so that they are not able to perform effectively, because if they get more number of years to serve as a CAG, they can come up with a lot of new ideas and they can implement so many new things. Here it is not possible, because they have only limited time period, 6 years or 65 years of age. If someone appoints as a CAG at the age of 62, they can perform as a CAG for next 3 years, that is it. Some reforms suggested by the Vinod Rai, was the former CAG. So, bring all public private partnership, Panchayat Raj institution and government funded society within the ambit of the CAG. All the accounts, government funded societies has to be bring in within the ambit of the CAG. CAG Act of 1971 should be amended to keep peace with the challenges in governance. He has given this recommendation. CAG Act of 1971 should be amended to keep peace with the challenges in governance. A collegium type mechanism to choose a new CAG on the lines of selecting a chief vigilance commissioner. Next recommendation is CAG has to prepare itself to audit issues like the implementation of sustainable development goals SDGs and the goods and service taxes. These are all few recommendations given by the Vinod Rai in order to bring the reforms in the CAG. What is the difference between CAG of India and CAG of Britain? So, for students, if we see, there are so many remarkable differences between CAG of Britain and CAG of India. See, in India, CAG performs the audit after the expenditure is made. See, in India, when CAG will perform the audit? After the expenditure is made by union government or state government or union territory or any government funded organizations. But whereas in Britain, no money can be drawn from the public exchequer, the approval of the CAG is required. In Britain, without the approval of CAG, the government cannot borrow money from the public exchequer, which means if they are giving budget, if they are preparing to spend certain money on so and so expenditure, before that they will give this request to the CAG. CAG will check whether this is appropriate or not. Post approval of the CAG, then only they can borrow money from the public exchequer. The role of CAG in India is only an Auditor General, not of Comptroller, but Britain CAG performs both the role of Comptroller as well as Auditor General. CAG is a member of Parliament in Britain, but in India CAG is a member of House of the Commons. So, here CAG is not member of the Parliament, but in Britain CAG is a member of House of the Commons. Okay, now we will discuss about Public Account Committee. The Public Accounts Committee was created as a parliamentary standing committee in the year of 1991. CAG audits reports are handed over to the PAC at the center and state. CAG audit reports, they will hand over the report to the Public Accounts Committee at the central government as well as the state government. CAG acts as a friend, philosopher and guide to the Public Accounts Committee, which means it is also a additional or other function of the CAG. CAG also takes care of PAC, Public Accounts Committee, as a friend, philosopher and guide. The Public Accounts Committee examines the below accounts and submits to the President every year. Three important audit reports Public Accounts Committee examines and submits to the President. First is audit report on the appropriation accounts. Second, audit report on the finance accounts. Third is audit report on public sector accounts. Appropriation account, financing account and public sector accounts. These three reports will be examined and handed over to the President by the PAC every year. The PAC laid the accounts in Parliament submitted by the CAG to the President. The same procedure, PAC laid the accounts in a Parliament submitted by the CAG to the President. CAG also assists the committee in its deliberations by preparing a list of the most urgent matters which deserves attention of the PAC. CAG who prepares the report, the most urgent or most important report to grab the attention of the PAC, Public Accounts Committee. CAG assists the committee in its deliberations by preparing a list of the most urgent matters which deserve the attention of the PAC. Okay. Now, we will discuss very important topic called types of audit performed by the CAG. What are the types of audits performed by the CAG? First is complaints audit. What is complaints audit? See, complaints audits mean whether the money was spent for the right purpose or not. See, if the state government or union government borrows money from the Consolidated Fund of India to spend on one particular program, one particular event. Let us say if they are borrowing 1000 crore rupees for implementing some of the welfare measures to the people. What CAG will do is, CAG cross checks whether the borrowed money has been spent to meet the particular purpose or not, whether the money which has been spent only for that purpose or not. This is point number 1. First we discussed about compliance audit, which means whether the given money is spent to accomplish the very purpose or not. Second is financial audit. What is financial audit? See, are they maintaining the proper records for the expenditure? This financial audit basically which talks about the maintenance of the records, which means the bills, the balance sheet, whether are they maintaining proper bills for the expenditure or not, because the role of CAG is the same. He will be checking the he is an auditor, he will be checking all the bills whether they are maintaining the bills or not. Third type of audit is efficiency audit. What is efficiency audit? First we discussed about compliance audit, second financial audit, third is efficiency audit, which means whether the money utilized properly or overspending or could have been spent less money. So, this will be the given money. Okay, let us say if they have given 1000 crore rupee for infrastructure development, okay, they will check whether the particular task, the infrastructure development task, could have been completed within the given money or less than that. So, that what they will do is they will check whether have they used properly the given money, the given fund. Sometimes they will cross check the expenditure. Probably they can suggest you could have approached some other contractor who would have given you less quotation, so that you would have saved this much crore money on this particular event. That is called efficiency audit, which means how efficient they are, how efficient the workers. Let us say if only 100 manpower is required for the particular task, if they are recruited 120 manpower, they will tell why have you recruited 20 more people to accomplish this particular task, whereas it requires only 100 manpower. Because if we recruit 20 extra manpower, 20 more manpower means we have to give them compensation, salary has to be given, other benefits has to be given, other expenditure has to be met. These are all unwanted expenditure, which means they are not efficient. So, that is called efficiency audit. Next is the last is preparatory audit. See, which means the preparatory audit means whether or not the government needed to spend that money, which means do they really need this activity? If yes, see, you need to understand one thing, CAG cannot suggest to the government you should not have this program or activity or event, because CAG is not a elected member, is appointed officer. So, our constitution gives such a authority to the elected members, which means the parliament and the state legislation. They can decide what has to be done to the people, but CAG can cross check whether do they really need this task to be completed, why they are spending money 1000 crore rupee for this activity. This 1000 rupee which is being spent for the particular activity, let us say for the infrastructure development, really do they need it now? They will check. That is called preparatory audit. The purpose of spending money will be checked by the CAG. They will check what is the purpose of spending this 1000 crore rupee in order to have a infrastructure development. CAG cannot say that you do not have infrastructure, it is not required for your state or your for the central government. No, that has to be decided by the government. Probably for the future plan, they would have done this infrastructure developmental activity now itself. CAG has no role to give suggestion. They will simply check and gives their suggestion. That's it. They cannot force to withdraw their proposal. But CAG cannot take a decision because our country is a democratic country. He is an appointed officer, but the power is with elected members. Dear students, so far we discussed about CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General of India. We discussed about what is the role and functions of the CAG, who appoints the CAG, what is the constitutional provisions given for the CAG, what are the various types of audits performed by the CAG, what is the difference between CAG of India and CAG of Britain. Also, we discussed about why CAG needs to perform those activities, those audits. Just I would like to tell you, please make a note of few important questions which is regarding to the CAG. First one is about explain the role and functions of the CAG. Mention the constitutional provision for the CAG. Describe the various types of audits done by the CAG. Challenges and difficulties of the CAG. Students, with that I would like to conclude my session. As I said, the role of CAG or the need of CAG is very, very important, because who audits the expenditure which is made by the government, central, state and union territories. At the same time, he performs the audit of the public sector enterprises and public funded agencies and institutions. End of the day, if we see whether it is expenditure made by the union government, state government or union territory, or the revenue of the public sector enterprises or public sector undertakings or public funded agencies, even for the local bodies, ultimately it is the fund of public, which means our money. So, it is necessary for the parliament, it is necessary for the government to answer or to submit the accounts to the public, because the major source of revenue to the government is from taxes and the profit from the public sector enterprises. Taxes, which means it is public fund, public money. Revenue comes from public sector enterprises. If you see the public sector enterprises which has been established by spending of public money only, which means it is public's money. So, they are answerable to the public. Here the role of CAG is to cross check, to verify, to examine whether they spent money properly or not. That is why Constitution of India gives such autonomy. It is an independent body like UPSC, like Election Commission of India. They can perform their duty without any interference or pressure from any external agencies. So, the power of CAG and his office is so big. That is why if you see the appointment of CAG, it is not a lengthy process. You see, very simple, based on the recommendation from the president, so that anyone can be appointed as a CAG. There is no any prescribed qualification also it is not mentioned, but while removing the CAG from his office, it is not simple one, it is such a lengthy process, because the role of CAG, he has been given that much of freedom and autonomy to audit without any interference. So, from the political side, there should not be any pressure or any threat to the CAG. That is why if CAG wants to be removed or has to be removed based on certain grounds, which is exactly the same grounds applicable for the while removing the judge of the Supreme Court on any misbehavior, or it is because of inefficiency. For that to also, if the if they are taking into the Lok Sabha, minimum 100 members has to put their signature. If it is Rajya Sabha, 50 members has to sign in the petition. After that also, if the Lok Sabha president for the Rajya Sabha chairman, that bill has to be submitted, they will appoint a committee to check whether it is true or not. After that also, based on the committee report, they will not just like that accept this one. It comes to the parliament to check the majority. Based on the majority only it will be decided. That too also parliament will not take any decision. They will be sending this bill to the president. President only will consider, because the CAG is being appointed by the president. The removal of the CAG also can be done by the president only. It is not very simple process. It is such a lengthy process, because CAG, it is an independent body. They have given, Constitution of India has given such a autonomy to the CAG. Just like that, I mean, he cannot be removed from his position. Also, CAG performs various types of audits in order to check whether money is spent properly or not, appropriately or not, whether have they maintained all the records, which means bills, their balance sheet properly or not. Also, they check whether the money has been spent efficiently or not, whether the given money which has been spent efficiently or not, the quotation they have collected from the various vendors, the tenders, whether it is appropriate or not. They can check, they can give suggestion. This job would have been completed by spending only this much of money, why you spent extra 10% or 20%. CAG can ask questions. Then they will finally do the proprietary audit, so that to check whether this expenditure has to be really made or not. They can give the recommendation. Also, CAG acts, other important function is CAG acts as a friend, philosopher, guide to the Public Accounts Committee. CAG also given recommendation to the Finance Commission for allocating fund to the various states based on the needs of that particular state. See, even for union government and state government, the way in which they have to maintain their records for the audit purpose, President of India only will give this instruction or will give this to the respective governments, but President of India will consult with the CAG, which means CAG only will decide, CAG only will finalize, this is the expected audit report format I am expecting to audit, so that CAG, in consultation with the CAG, President can decide, so that later on he will pass this format to the state, union government and union territories. Hope this session is very much useful to you all. Thank you. Dear students, so far we discussed about the CAG of our India. Hope this session is very much useful to you all. Thank you.